Hey everyone, and welcome to 3 Beers Deep for June 8th, the week before E3. I feel like garbage. I am sick. I had a sore throat that has turned into something far worse and more insidious. And so it is going to be an extremely abbreviated 3 Beers Deep because I'm recording it on Monday afternoon, Monday evening. I'm done with work. All I want to do is sit and watch Game of Thrones. But I said I'd do these every week. I'm not going to do a full show, but I thought I'd pick one question and turn that into 3 Beers Deep this week because I think that's all I can get through, and at least then I can say that I did it. So thanks for tuning in. This is my weekly Q&A show in which you submit questions to patrickklepek.tumblr.com. I pluck from there and answer questions, usually more than one, as part of this show. But we're only going to do one this week, like I said, and I'm already losing my train of thought. I don't know. I also sometimes answer some of those questions on a daily basis. So, let's see how this goes. Because I picked a really serious one too. Anonymous asks, why are people sympathizing with the Bloody Baron in Witcher 3? I don't know if you've played it, but as someone that grew up with an abusive drunk, the shit the Baron says is stuff I've heard over and over for years and years. A bunch of fake apologies and bullshit about regret while continuing to make life hell. It's fucked up to me to see so many people say he clearly regrets what he did. If he regretted it, he'd accept it and move on. I'm actually genuinely surprised I have not heard more about The Witcher 3's Bloody Baron quest. And I guess if you are afraid about hearing a little bit of a spoiler for one of the first major quests in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, then I would tell you to stop watching this. But I think if you are never intending to play The Witcher 3, it is interesting to kind of hear this quest line and kind of how it plays out and what the context is. So, the Bloody Baron quest is kind of the first major one you encounter. It goes on for a long time in the game. Like, it takes something like, 5 to 7 hours to see all the way through, and you can't even finish elements of it until you are well in the first third of the game. But the Bloody Baron quest starts out with what seems to be something fairly simple, in which there is a man who is very drunk, who is looking for his wife and his daughter. They've run off. He's not sure where they went. You get access to his castle and to their rooms, and you do some Witcher sensing to figure out where they might have gone. You kind of track down some leads, and long story short, you discover that the Bloody Baron, who is bloody he got the nickname for a totally different reason. I'm not sure if he ever tells the story. I've never heard him tell the story myself. Maybe that happens later. But that he is a horrible, abusive father who has hit his wife, hit the mother of his child, and essentially, through sheer anger and abuse, has driven them out of the home in which they have left. And this quest begins with you thinking you're just trying to do a favor for a guy who's drowning his sorrows in alcohol, but as it turns out, he's holding hostage information that you need, and you need to try and track down his wife and daughter who left because he hit them, or hit the wife specifically. I'm not sure if it's actually ever implied that he was abusive to the daughter, but just, vis-a-vis being abusive to the mother, you can see why that would be extremely traumatic and color this woman's feeling of the Bloody Baron. And what's interesting about the Bloody Baron quest, and part of what makes it so nuanced, and what makes a lot of the Witcher nuanced, specifically Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, is that you talk to the Bloody Baron a lot. He explains his side of the story in so much as there is a story to tell. He talks about how he was a soldier and he would leave and he was gone for extended periods of time, and his wife, went to bed with another man, and he came back and that upset him, that made him angry. And he said that this led to a fracturing between the two of them, in which the wife would needle him, and he killed the guy that his wife was sleeping with in front of his wife and his daughter. I think in front of his daughter, getting some of the smaller parts of the story a little bit off. But murders this man in front of his wife. Excuse me, and then is surprised that his wife resents him for this. Now, with this storyline, what makes it so interesting, I can't understand why anyone feels sympathetic to the Bloody Baron. I really can't. I cannot see eye to eye in that. The Bloody Baron is a horrible monster. He is a piece of shit. He is a loathsome, ugly human being that comes up with insane reasons to justify why you would raise your hand at someone. There is no justification for that. He was not being attacked. He was not being hurt. He was not fighting for his life. Regardless of the circumstances, none of that excuses you being an abusive piece of shit. And the Bloody Baron is an abusive piece of shit. And that is clear in the questline. Now, granted, you can engage in some dialogue that allows you to be sympathetic or understanding of the Baron's circumstances, that maybe you can understand how he got to that point. I always chose the dialogue that never allowed me to go there. I always chose the dialogue that put the Baron in his place, reminded them that he is a monster, and the only reason I am helping him is because I need information that he won't give up unless I accomplish X, Y, and Z. And even in instances where the dialogue didn't allow me to be as forceful as I wanted to be, I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew how I felt about this character. I knew how I felt about this storyline, and the storyline was that the Bloody Baron is a reprehensible, garbage human being, virtual or otherwise, that deserves no amount of respect from me. And what I found so incredible about the way this is written is that often the only perspective we would get on this is that, yes, he's an abusive, horrible monster, and that's it. And that is still true. He is still a horrible, abusive monster in which there is absolutely no way that you can justify or rationalize what's happening here. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have his own side of the story. That doesn't mean he doesn't have his own interpretation of events. It doesn't mean that he doesn't think there's a reason he did what he did that is justifiable or is excusable if he goes the extra mile or tries to apologize. So hearing the Bloody Baron, why he did what he did, I found fascinating. I found really interesting. And it went so deep on a subject that games never touch upon. And so to hear firsthand from an abuser why he abused, it didn't absolve him of his sins. It didn't make me feel bad for him. But it certainly cast the situation in a nuance and a light that I just never ever get in video games. And that part I really, really enjoyed. Well, enjoyed is maybe the incorrect term. I didn't enjoy it so much as I thought it was interesting. And so like I said before, can't wrap my head around how anyone would think that's okay, or that suddenly like, well, the Baron, geez, like he just got pushed into a corner and some people snap. Like, no. Even if that's true, it's not an excuse. He's still a monster. But it made for a really tremendously interesting quest. And now I'm going to pause. Sorry about that. I had to go blow my nose. But yeah, that was my feelings on the Bloody Baron quest in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Tremendously interesting. Don't see that enough in games. But that's going to do it for 3 Beers Deep. Like I said, one question. Tried to pick a good one. I thought that was interesting, but I just can't stand to sit in front of this camera anymore. I'm very sorry. If you'd like to contribute more questions to 3 Beers Deep, you can do it at patrickklepek.tumblr.com. I answer questions daily. Also, if you like what I do, you might be interested in Match 3. It's my new Chicago-based gaming podcast in which I talk with freelance games writer Gita Jackson and middle school teacher Sam Phillips, in which we try and dissect and look at video games from a cultural perspective, kind of the big picture on where games fit in the culture in our society. It's really interesting. Please give it a listen. It's on iTunes under Match 3, or you can look it up at match3podcast.simplecast.fm. Or is it match3.simplecast.fm? I can't remember because my brain is mush. But those are places where you can stream and download it, grab an RSS link, and drop it into your favorite podcast app. Also, you can do the same for 3 Beers Deep. Go to inventorymanagement.simplecast.fm. You can grab the episodes or find it on iTunes. Thanks for tuning in. I apologize for my terrible voice. I'll see you guys later.